Welcome to the first ever Wise Pelican podcast. I'm Celia Palermo, alongside founder and CEO Geoff Lilienfeld. And Geoff, we are in a special place today, doing something different.
Yeah, it's a new studio. It's cool.
New studio, new initiative, our first ever podcast episode.
Hell yeah.
This has been something we've been wanting to do for a while, and I know it precedes me joining the team. Tell me about what made you want to launch a podcast to begin with?
Yeah, so there's kind of a multitude of reasons. One is I just love to hear myself talk. Can't imagine other people don't want to also. But, you know, in all seriousness, podcasts and content creation and video content are more important for marketing now than ever. People want to connect on a human level. They really want to, interact and understand who it is that they're learning from, especially when you have experts in very niche specific fields like we are when it comes to real estate marketing. There's that human element. And then on the complete opposite side of that, out of AI and ChatGPT and all of these LLMs, there is this new marketing concept that has been born where there's the traditional SEO of search engine optimization, and now there's AEO, which is AI engine optimization. And a lot of people are aware of the fact that the LLMs are deciding how to rank, if you will, for lack of a better term, right?
Yeah.
Using kind of a historically SEO term.
Right.
But how to rank websites based on the content that is being produced around it. So whether that's video or podcasts, it's, also, I think it's something like 43% is coming off of Reddit is where it's looking.
Yeah.
So marketing is changing rapidly, which means A, we need to be ahead of the curve ourselves, but B, it is a great opportunity to educate people on how to do it because it's a wild friggin' world out there right now. And one cool thing with AI is nobody knows it.
Yep.
We're all learning, and you just got to be on top of it. So it's a good opportunity for kind of both directions.
Yeah, no kidding. AI is a huge part of the business as it stands, and it's something we take really seriously. I know we're going to talk a lot about that on this podcast, so looking forward to that going forward and in the future. But you are a wealth of knowledge when we think about this niche in particular, real estate marketing. And so I want to start at the very beginning, the origin story of Wise Pelican and how it became the company that it is today, leading the industry. And I want to start at the very beginning. I want to start when you were in New Orleans. You went to college in New Orleans. What was your first professional move out of school?
So I went to college in New Orleans at Loyola when Hurricane Katrina hit. So I was going into my junior year when all of a sudden the levees broke. We weren't going back there. I ended up doing a semester at Loyola in Chicago, which are only loosely affiliated, but they were super kind. They took us all in.
Wow.
They actually let Loyola New Orleans keep our tuition for the semester, even though we attended a completely different school. Yeah. So that was really cool of them. But when I got back to New Orleans, I had an internship. So I studied accounting. That's what my bachelor's degree is in. I had an internship doing bookkeeping and other kind of accounting stuff, taxes, accounting stuff, as you will.
Numbers.
Numbers for a CPA firm. And we were working with a gentleman that was Chinese and importing these granite slabs from China. And, he just showed me the opportunity and was like, you should get into this, right? I mean, obviously, massive rebuilding effort. People need countertops. So it started with me and my boss. Our game plan was actually to just really wholesale the granite slabs, these prefabricated granite slabs to installers. And we kind of quickly learned that wasn't how it was going to work. And that turned me into a granite contractor.
Wow.
So my boss, being a CPA, was like, this is too much for me. I'm out on this. Like, what are you doing? And at the time, I was, 20 years old. And I just went out there and I did it.
Wow.
So essentially, my very early marketing was faxing general contractors price lists saying, hey, I just wanted to send you my updated price list, which is, I don't know, maybe illegal at the time. It's a cold fax, I guess,
Right.
but whatever, it happened. Or maybe it didn't, I don't know. Potentially it happened. But so that was one of the first, and then that actually gained traction, right? They said, oh, we need subcontractors to put in granite. And so I started getting work from general contractors, and then I've always referred to businesses as we.
It is a team.
It's the royal we.
Yeah.
But it is a team. So I ended up creating a website, and that was like very early days of Google AdWords, and just running traffic to the website through Google AdWords, and then doing some SEO and optimizing that website, and really getting to where I was running 2 different installation crews, and I had a fabrication shop with a full-time crew, fabricating countertops and routers and a forklift and all these things at this point, 21 years old.
Wow.
So kind of silly.
Not silly, because clearly it all comes naturally to you, right?
I love the hustle. I love marketing.
Yeah, and we're always innovating here at Wise Pelican and coming up with new features to make our customers' lives easier, better. But I know New Orleans wasn't the end of the story. You went to Kansas City after that. So what was the transition from what you were doing there to Kansas City?
So the way the granite company ended was essentially I decided, it turns out construction is not for me.
Not for me.
Between having employees with drug problems and all of that, I'm like, I can't deal with this. Yeah,
I'm out.
I'm out on this. So I ended up selling the company to another local granite contractor. And my girlfriend at the time was working for a company out of Kansas City who'd been offering her a promotion if she moved there. Me not really having any ties and just kind of ready for a change. I'd been there for 6 years and I was ready to see something else. So I got tricked into moving to Kansas City. No, Kansas City's a great place, and I have tons of really good friends there. But I do like Scottsdale better. So I moved to Kansas City. And I ended up getting a job with who at the time was RSM McGladrey. Later on, they were just McGladrey. I think now they're RSM US, but I was a management consultant. And so I've worked on all sorts of different projects. Management consulting is cool because you get to pretend you know how to do shit and then figure it out as you go.
Fake it till you make it.
It's fake it till you make it. However, the only caveat to it is you'd better make it really fucking fast.
Right.
Because they're paying for you. Yeah,
you'd
better figure it out. Yeah. It's a no JK type of situation.
Right.
But if you're that person that's willing to do that and enjoys it, then you can thrive. So I did all sorts of strange roles, from working on a bank project to keep them from getting taken over by the FDIC, to project managing a hospital acquisition, all sorts of wild stuff. Working with one of the big national tax preparers to revamp their strategy for their go-to-market. Really just the entire gambit of stuff. But while I was doing that, as a management consultant, you sometimes have what one calls bench time, which is essentially you're not on a paid project, you're between projects. And I had an iPhone that I had purchased 2 years prior for $200. Like, they all sold then, right? The subsidized price.
Not $1,200
Not
like they are in the big
$1,200.
2025.
Yeah, exactly. Not $1,200 like they are here for us. Wow. But for $200, which I'll get to in a second here. So I purchased it for $200 2 years prior, broke the home button on it, had to go get a new one for another $200, whatever. So I'm sitting there, I'm talking to one of my colleagues. He's like, man, you should sell that thing. And I'm like, that's way too much effort. I'm not going to do that. Like, that's exhausting. I'm like, what am I going to do? Get, $50 for it? Like, and I think at the time I thought I'd get like $20 for it. And I had some time. I was sitting there. I was bored. It was bench time. And I'm like, you know what? Maybe I'll list this thing on eBay. Maybe somebody will give me $50 for it. Like,
sure.
That would be cool, actually. It's whatever. It's worth the time. So I take this phone that I paid $200 for it 2 years prior, broke the home button, was really hoping I could get $50 for it. I list the phone. I want to say it sold for, it was like $400 or $500. And I'm like, what the fuck is this? Like, I can't believe somebody just purchased this thing that I'd paid $200 for, broke, and then
You're giving me double for it.
Yeah, 2 years ago.
Let's go.
And they're giving me more than double, and I'm like, man, how is this working? And that's when I learned about subsidies in the U.S. that we were buying iPhones for $200 because the carriers, AT&T, Verizon, Sprint at the time, subsidized the phones.
Right.
But in other countries, they didn't have those subsidies. Right, kind of like we don't now, but we have financing, we have all that stuff. So in Canada, in Australia, in lots of these other first world countries, they still had to pay $1,200.
Right.
So there was a huge market for refurbished iPhones.
Wow.
So I'm like, well, if I would have easily sold that phone for $50 and been happy with it, how many other people have a broken iPhone that would love to sell it to me for $50 if I made it easy enough? So what I did is I paid a contractor off of what was Elance at the time, which has now been purchased by Upwork, which both of those kind of predated Fiverr, who you might be more familiar with.
Yeah.
Paid a contractor to build a little landing page for me, and this was the very, very early days of Facebook ads. I went out and started running some Facebook ads because I wanted to see how many other people would sell me their phone for $50 that I could turn around and flip like that.
Wow.
Well, it turned out in that first year, 14,000 people wanted to sell me their phone.
Wow.
So,
you had a golden opportunity
that
there.
was the
Wow.
next marketing foray, which I ended up learning a lot about affiliate marketing also because we had a lot of partners that would do like email drops and that kind of stuff for us to help drive traffic, to essentially drive it to the landing page, get someone to fill out a form that said, yes, I'd like to sell you my phone. We would send them a postage prepaid envelope. They'd drop their phone in it. It would come back to us. We had a third party we integrated with. This was a while ago. So it would cut them a check and we mailed them a check, and that's how we purchased their phone. And then we would, early on, we resold all of them to refurbishers in Hong Kong, and then we ended up actually Hong Kong and Shenzhen. But then we ended up actually hiring on our own refurbishers, and we started refurbishing some of our own and doing some of that. So it was a great business. Eventually, carriers caught on, and they said, well, shit, we're going to buy back these phones too.
We got to get on board.
Yeah, we got to get in on this.
And now you can get refurbished iPads. You can get refurbished MacBooks, whatever you want. I mean, and it's a great deal usually.
Yeah, it's interesting you bring up refurbished MacBooks because I feel like that's a little bit of a life hack that a lot of people don't know about.
Because people open them out of the box, don't want them for whatever reason, and that's a refurbished
Yeah, but it's
device.
still sold by Apple. It has the exact same warranty, exact same
100%.
everything, but it's like 30% cheaper. But you're still buying the exact same Apple product from Apple in a sealed box.
Yep.
It's
pretty dang good. Pretty dang good. Okay, refurbished devices, granite slabs in New Orleans. How do you get to real estate marketing and direct mail marketing specifically?
So that's a great question. So I ended up selling, the company was called iPhones in a Cash. I sold iPhones in a Cash for not a ton of money, as I said. It was on the down as the carriers were coming in. But I got a call from a gentleman that I had worked with when I was at McGladrey that was my boss there and said, hey, I'm working for the software company. They need someone to help with their marketing. I know you do that. Like, are you interested? Would you talk to them? They just want to pay someone hourly as a contractor. I said, yeah, absolutely. So I went and I started working with them, and they ended up going, man, you're a lot more technical than we realized you are. Would you actually help us build out this other consulting practice around a specific piece of software? I said yes. I helped them build it out. For whatever reasons, we ended up parting ways, and I went and I found other consulting firms that were actually utilizing the same software, or that were consulting on the same software, I should say, because it's enterprise process management software. And I called them and said, hey, you guys consult on this. Do you need me? I'm just looking for contract work. And one of them said, well, it shows here on the resume you sent that you actually managed a practice around it. And I said, yeah, I did, but I don't need to, whatever. And they said, well, no, that would be awesome if you would come in and build a practice for us around it. And so that was RPI Consultants, who I joined, oh man, that was like 13 years ago. And so I was actually there for maybe 4 years before they asked me to actually buy in and become an equity partner. And so then I was there for a total of about 10 years. And so I built a practice to, I want to say at the peak, probably about 22 consultants, just specifically focused on consulting on this one piece of software.
Wow.
So that was my next leap, but that doesn't answer your question. So going back to your question, how I got to Wise Pelican, right? How I got to real estate, how I got to Wise Pelican. That started with my wife and I getting married in Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And after we get back, I'm sitting there at home and I get that same phone call I'd gotten from her a bunch of times. She's like, hey, I'm not going to be able to make it home for dinner. My boss just will not let me leave. She was working for this company that, for a lack of a better term, they were just complete dicks. And she was working 70, 80 hours. She couldn't get promoted because they were this East Coast-based company who only believed in having management if you had an MBA. And so she was there training their executives, training their managers, and couldn't get a promotion.
She was the one
but working all the hours.
helping them grow.
And not my finest moment in terms of kind words, but I actually said to her, I didn't get married to eat dinner alone, which was not very nice.
But it hits where you need to.
But
right?
It did. And, not at the time.
Of course not.
But a few days later, we were having the conversation. She's like, you're right. Like, these people don't treat me well. I don't know what I am doing here. And I said, just leave your job. Like, you don't need it.
Right.
And she's like, well, that's really nerve-wracking, whatever. I'm like, the
big
good
leap.
news is you're now married. We're in a community property state. What's mine is yours. You're fine, right? I had a good job, and
Right.
so it's like, just
figure it out.
Just leave it, and we will figure it out. She is like a quintessential salesperson, right?
Oh, yeah.
You know her.
She doesn't know a stranger.
No,
she
she doesn't.
The easiest to talk to. She is wicked smart, wicked quick. She's awesome.
Yeah.
Andrea's awesome.
And she lights up the room. She's got that
Yep.
smile. People will stop her as she walks down the airplane aisle. It's wild. We actually had a flight attendant one time recognize her from I'm not even shitting you here, from the postcards that she sends out.
Let's go.
Right?
It works.
Yeah. It was our flight attendant, and she was serving her drink. She goes, man, you are just so familiar. I know you. And she's like, I don't know. I have one of those faces. And she goes, wait, you're a real estate agent. Are you Andrea? And we're like, yeah. And she goes, where do you live? What subdivision? And it's a subdivision that she farms.
Wow.
And so that was kind of wild. At any rate, sorry, that was a tangent.
No, that's proof of concept.
Yeah,
man.
right? Totally off. But it was, she's got the personality. She's just a natural salesperson. And I'm a marketer. I've always been a marketer.
Yeah.
I love to generate leads. And so it's like, okay, what can we do together, right, that really makes sense? I also like to read business books. And real estate is just a good mix of, you need to generate the leads, you need the salesperson. And if you have those two things, it's a really big ticket item.
It is.
And you didn't need to reinvent the wheel. So first thing I did is I'm like, okay, what's the best, real estate business book to figure it out? Gary Keller's Millionaire Real Estate Agent. Bam. And it continues to be. And so I read the book and I'm like, all right, we're going to implement this the way that it says. And all of these big real estate coaches, they all go back to direct mail. And Gary Keller was all about direct mail. And that was before Google Ads and all that kind of stuff was super popular for getting buyer leads. But even today, the big real estate coaches, the Tom Ferrys of the world and all that, they all still go back to direct mail.
Yep.
So as I started doing research, it's like, okay, everything comes back to one thing when it comes to listing leads. And so I'm like, all right, I want to do this in the most effective manner possible. And I read a lot about how you want to have very targeted postcards so that people feel like you're an expert in their neighborhood. And so as I start looking at that, and I'm trying to figure out how do I mail the most targeted postcards possible so that if you are living in Optima Camel View, your postcard says Optima Camel View, I quickly learned there wasn't really a good way to do that. And so I went to work building a system for myself, which at the time I was just doing data merges in InDesign. But it was so expensive to go to a mail house to mail it because they saw each subdivision as being an individual job, right? So if there's 200 postcards going to a subdivision, your old school direct mail house is like, you got to have a setup fee, you got to do all these things because they have to, because it's the way they work, right? The way that they produce the postcards are in jobs. They have to set up the art, they have to print it, they have to cut it, they have to tray it, they have to band it, they have to take it to USPS. It's a whole ordeal. And so it's like, well, we got to figure out a way to just gang up all of this and do it all as one big variable data thing. So me being me, I go out, I get a permit with USPS, I put all this stuff together, I end up, the first runs, I'm like having printed at Kinko's. Pretty soon I have this printer by this company called Oki Data, which, whatever, they're like the super old school company. They make like dot matrix printers, but they also made the right printer for printing on postcard stock. And then I'm taking that across the street to Kinko's or FedEx, whatever it is, to get them cut. And then we're sorting them. Well, the first time I'm like doing the paperwork wrong. Andrea agrees to take it to the post office. She ends up at the post office for 8 friggin' hours.
Oh my gosh, because they couldn't figure it out.
They couldn't figure it out. She had it wrong. She's in the wrong place. I'm not kidding you. They were there so long, and Andrea being who Andrea is, pretty soon, after 4 hours, she's back in the break room having birthday cake with them, like singing happy birthday.
Does not surprise me whatsoever.
So it was humble beginnings, to say the least. But essentially, we created this system for doing our own postcards, and then kind of started navigating it to where we could do it for other people. And we were mailing 10,000 postcards a month, and we were doing it off of data. And the name Wise Pelican actually comes from the wise part of it is the data part. Because our idea was like, okay, let's go to market, right? We now know how to mine the data. We know how to review the data. We know how to figure out where to mail. Because you always obviously want to get the max ROI. You want to mail postcards to people that are going to list their homes. So you need neighborhoods with high turnover rates, right? You need these things in place. So we're like, all right, we're mailing 10,000 postcards a month. Who else wants to mail 10,000 postcards a month? Doors are open. Turns out, nobody. So it's like, well, shit. All right.
That's humbling.
Yeah, we got to back this up a little. But what we did hear over and over again was, well, I want to mail a couple hundred. And some people were like, I want to mail 20. And it's like, okay, well, we actually can do that.
We can do that.
So we went back. We took it from being this InDesign data merge. I hired some software developers. We created the platform that allows us to gang up all of the jobs so that it makes no difference to us. If you want to mail one postcard, that's fine. It goes straight into our mail stream. It doesn't matter, and that's why, to this day, you can mail a single postcard through Wise Pelican. You can mail a single letter, even, through Wise Pelican without even a windowed envelope. It's in a non-windowed envelope with a handwritten font written on the envelope because we don't do anything unless we can do it in an automated fashion.
Yep.
So we automate everything, and that allows us to do these super short run jobs that others can't, but it also allows us to do a run of 20,000 postcards and have it to the post office the next day.
I love that. I love that.
So it's a cool system.
It is, and it's something that clearly we've carried throughout the company since its inception. What were some of the biggest challenges in the early days of Wise Pelican?
Well, obviously having no product market fit and developing the totally, going to market with the very wrong product was definitely a challenge.
Right.
There's been a lot. It's interesting because my original intention actually was to outsource all of the printing. right? I was like, I'm going to create the software for it. We can outsource it. We actually designed it we implemented with a third-party provider. And then we quickly realized that the quality wasn't what we were expecting. And it was like, oh crap, we really should have thought this out a little bit more and tested this. But also keeping in mind, I was a partner at a consulting firm, right? I had a very full-time job with over 20 direct reports. So that was a hurdle. And that's when I said, okay, we need to print this. And so figured out how to actually have the printers and do all that and bring on employees who were full-time printing. And so that became its own thing. And honestly, I would never look back. Being able to control the quality for us is really key.
That's a huge part of it. For those at home who don't know, Geoff and Andrea also own the K Grant Group, which is a real estate brokerage. How much has listening to realtors shaped the company as it's grown over time?
Yeah, it's interesting because it really shapes it a lot. With Wise Pelican really being a software company, right? Which it's interesting because not a lot of people realize that, right? Yeah. And it's always hard to explain to someone. They're like, oh, what do you do? I'm like, well, we have a direct mail company, but it's really a SaaS. And they're like, what are you talking about? Kind of explain it. With it being a SaaS, right, I go to all these SaaS conferences and learn from other founders and own software companies. They're like, dude, you absolutely have to have a product manager. And I've gone down that path, and then I realized I'm like, we actually just don't, because we just know it so firsthand, right?
Right.
The voice of the customer comes from us. It comes from the fact that we are so embedded with real estate early on, and now we just have thousands and thousands of clients that we're just hearing from on a daily basis. The voice of the customer is all around us. And so what we found is that with our customers, it's kind of interesting. Real estate agents are an interesting group because of the fact that there is this desire to like be everything and do everything. And it's tough. It's definitely kind of a tough audience at times, because of the fact that you have a group of people that are very passionate. And they're like, okay, I really want this postcard to be exactly what I want it to be.
Right.
And we can do that for you, but you're not going to get the same return on investment. It's not going to convert the same, right? Like, I know exactly how to design a postcard so that you get leads and you get listings and you get the top return on investment. What's difficult is me trying to get you to listen, to just shut the fuck up and use the postcard, for lack of a better term.
Just trust us.
Just trust us,
we know
right?
what we're doing.
I mean, that's tough. And there's certain
It's their
times,
brand, it's their name, it's their face.
yeah.
Right?
And like there are certain situations like, yeah, you're mailing your sphere and all that. Like, that's great, have as much personality as possible. And then there's other times that it's like, you really got to go with what the proven strategies are. Yes. and what works. And we have the data. We're mailing these postcards. We're watching the scans. We know what gets scans. We know what colors to use. We know what calls to action. We know all of these things.
We see it day to day, what actually works. In your business journey in general, when you look at Wise Pelican and zoom out, you look at all the different steps it took to build us to what we are today, what are you most proud of?
Oh man, that's a really interesting question. I'm really proud of the product that we've built and the team of people that we've built around that product, and how many real estate agents we touch. That is really, really cool. We went to a Tom Ferry conference a couple years ago in Dallas, and I wasn't expecting that when we set up our booth, there is a line of real estate agents. And we have no affiliation with Tom Ferry whatsoever. Right. But there is a line of real estate agents ready to shake my hand and tell us about how much they appreciate our platform and what we offer.
How do we make real estate agents' lives easier, would you say?
Yeah, I mean, man, we have so many tools, but the coolest thing that we recently came out with is this power farming, right? Which is really awesome because in legitimately under 10 minutes, you can see exactly where to mail based on turnover rate and the agent saturation rate, which I can get into more in a minute. But you can see exactly where to mail. And from there, you just pick the template, and then every single month, we automatically update the market stats in that template. So you're like getting all of the best worlds, right? Not just, the best of both, but it's the best of all the worlds, because you know exactly where to mail and who to mail to. You know exactly what to mail. You're getting maximum brand recognition because you're able to send out that exact same template every month while you are sending a piece that the homeowners are actually excited to get. Like, everybody wants to know what their neighbor's house sold for, right? And what the stats are. And everybody wants to know what their home's worth. So then you layer on, we have these ASV QR codes where every single QR code is unique. So now the homeowners scan that QR code to find out what their home's worth, and boom, the agent gets a lead.
Yeah.
So that's really cool how we're able to automate it, but also provide real estate agents with the exact formula to be successful.
Yes, the consistency is a huge factor, and that's a huge aspect of Power Farm. It took us more than a year to get Power Farm off the ground, and it launched recently. Where did the idea come from? When did you first come up with this idea and take action to make it a reality that it is today?
Yeah, so Power Farming it took us about 14 months to build it.
Yeah.
And it's a lot because there are some things that are simpler than others. We already had the data to be able to calculate the turnover rates. We've been purchasing the address data for a long time. We spend hundreds of thousands of dollars on data a year. So we had all this data, but what gets really difficult is, and this was a non-negotiable, just going back to knowing the voice of the customer, knowing real estate agents, being a licensed real estate agent, right? Actually having 20 real estate agents that we have on our team. It was like we must be able to show a map, and the geeky term is choropleth, but don't glaze over. But essentially what that means is you have a bunch of polygons on a map, right? Each one representing a geographic area. Here in Arizona, that's generally subdivisions. In Iowa, it's probably school districts. Yeah. But having that choropleth map and being able to just look at it and it be shaded to just say, you need to mail here. And that was a non-negotiable. So we had to go out and figure out the boundaries and source the boundary data to be able to populate what those geographic areas are on the map, because it's different in every location.
When you talk about the shading on the map, for those who don't know, Power Farm is built upon two key metrics, turnover rate and agent saturation rate. What are those?
Yeah, so the turnover rate is the number of homes that sold in a period. We do a 24-month period divided by the homes in that geographic area. So if you look at an area, and let's say it's a subdivision, and there's 100 homes in the subdivision, and 10 of them sold in the last year, that would be a 10% turnover rate. The agent saturation rate is one that we came up with that is a marker to tell you whether or not another real estate agent already has a stronghold on that neighborhood. Reason being, there are a lot of homes to mail out there. You do not want to go to war with another agent. It is very rarely that you find a neighborhood that a single agent is doing a lot of business in and they're not mailing it. Like, for the most part, that's a great thing about the industry that we're in, is it's no secret that all top producers utilize direct mail. Right. And you have access to see the data. And so it's like when someone's like, well, I don't know if direct mail works for real estate agents, it's just like, I don't know what you're talking about. Like,
It's proven.
It's proven. It couldn't be more proven. But yeah, so if we see that, there's already in the neighborhood you're interested in farming, one agent is already doing 25% of the listings in there. It's like, pick another one. So it's really cool because we show the turnover rate in shades of blue. We show the agent saturation rate in shades of red. And so essentially, in a good Wise Pelican manner, you just look for the deep purple.
Yep.
And the deep purple is where you want to mail. You click it. It tells you how many homes are in the area. You hit approve. Boom. It adds it to your farm. And now you have an area in your farm. It automatically pulls the market stats. And it automatically puts the name of the farm right on the postcard, so that now you are getting a postcard, the homeowners are getting a postcard that says Optima Camel View market stats, and boom, there's the market stats for it. You don't have to do anything. It is truly set it and forget it, and then leads are just flowing in.
I love it. And Power Farm is something we will talk about a lot, I'm sure, on this podcast, just because of, how excited we are to introduce this to the market. There's nothing else out there like it. Speaking of new things, we are close to moving into our new home at the Enclave. I know it's been a massive project for you and Andrea, renovating an office building, and both the K Grant Group and Wise Pelican are going to be under one roof, including our production facility. What are you most excited for the future of both businesses?
It's exciting in all manners, right? So for one thing, I think it's really cool, again, going back to that voice of the customer and just being surrounded by real estate agents.
Yes.
It's really cool that everyone at Wise Pelican will be interacting with our real estate team on a daily basis.
Yes.
Like, there's no better way for everyone to have an understanding of not just what it takes to help a real estate agent, but what are their trials and tribulations, right? What are they going through on a daily basis?
Right. Make
them understand why it is that they're not necessarily sitting at a computer, why they want to be able to do things in an automated manner, because sometimes they are running around, right? They have clients that are saying, hey, I want to see a home right now. And they know there's a $15,000 or $20,000 commission check on the other end of that.
So they got to go.
And so they got to go. They're ready to show that home, right? They don't want to sit at a computer and create these campaigns.
Right.
And so I think it's really cool that everyone will be able to get to see that. I frankly am excited to be able to get back to kind of my roots too, and be around my real estate team and interacting with them, and back working side by side with Andrea throughout the day. Right, and getting to do that, and it's kind of fun. Our offices are actually, as you know, right across from each other in both glass, with kind of a, I don't know, what do you call it? I guess it's a foyer.
Yeah, atrium.
Type thing between them. So we'll look at each other, and I put blinds up in mine so that it doesn't get too much. But
knock, knock, knock. Respond to my email.
But yeah, so that's going to be super exciting. The other thing I'm really excited for too is to be back at the equipment, right? To actually have the production facility in the same place, because that drives a lot of innovation, right? Especially in terms of automation. There's a lot to be said too for the software developers to be able to see that equipment and what it is that they're doing. And just like I was talking about us being able to see real estate agents and what their lives are really like and how their occupation works. Also, I find myself always like protecting our production team, where I'm like, hey, leave those guys alone. Like, those guys are working. They are feeding printers. They are cutting jobs. They are training them. They are loading trucks, right? Like, to actually see that, I think it'll help them be like, oh yeah, I'm going to figure this out on my own.
Yep.
Like,
I'm not going to bother them.
Yeah, I think I'll let them keep doing their thing, because we run very, very lean. And so those guys are working. We're very efficient.
How many postcards do we mail a day?
We mail about 30,000 postcards a day.
Wow, that's incredible. Well, we'll start to wrap up here. Geoff, this has been an awesome conversation, learning the deep origins of Wise Pelican, why we do what we do, how we got to where we are. This is just the beginning. I'm so excited to do this with you, and we're going to have our own podcast studio in the new digs. We're going to do a lot of fun stuff. Thank you so much for your time.
Yeah, this was fun. Thank you so much.
Everyone, like and subscribe, follow along with what we're doing, not only with this podcast, but with our content in general. We are more active than ever on social media, on Geoff's pages, on the Wise Pelican pages, so follow along. You are not going to want to miss this. Thank you so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.